Recording 1, 2, 3. We will now go over a sales checklist. Recording 1, 2, 3. We will now go over a sales checklist. This can be located at londonfoster.net under Office Manager, Contracts and Forms, you want to make sure to scroll down. And here where you see that it says Sales Checklist, I'm going to open that up. This is a very simple and comprehensive form. It's intended to be a tool for a realtor to use when he is doing a sale. And the idea is that you have all of your information at a glance. You want to fill this out as it goes along. You want to make sure that if there's any dates that you need to change, that you put it in. As you know, there is a standard, or a majority of the deals go one way, but every deal is its own existence. So you want to make sure that you fill it out completely and that it reflects what the deal is in regards to the contract. So instead of you having to pull out the contract and review it every time, you can have this file, be updating it constantly, checking the dates, putting the dates accordingly. So the first part of the contract you'll see is the actual contract information. You're going to have your sale, your property address, the MLS number, the folio, the listing price, the sale price, the London Foster agent commission in regards to percentage, and the London Foster agent commission in regards to $sign. You're also going to put there what your London Foster fee is, what you're having to pay London Foster, and what the transaction fee, what the client is paying you, if that is the case. Here to the right, we're going to have important dates, and I'm going to make this nice and large so you can all see it. You want to write when the offer was made, what the effective date is, if there's a confusion in regards to which one is which. An offer is simply an opinion. It's when you send out a contract to your seller, or someone is sending a contract to you as a seller's listing agent. That's when the offer was made. When it is effective, or is when the contract has been executed or signed by both parties. So when it goes back and forth, that is presented by the buyer and then given to the seller, and then the seller changes the price, and then it's presented back to the buyer, and the buyer changes something else and presented to the seller. Whatever the last date or the last signature is, that is going to be your effective date. As you know, effective dates end at 5 p.m. So for instance, if you had an effective date that was signed at 7 p.m., that would count as the very next day. In regards to the closing, it is the date of the closing that was written on the contract. There is the date of the appraisal. Most of the appraisals say 14 days. Many of us change that to 10 days or 7 days, whichever it might be. You want to reiterate when the appraisal contingency expires. Also, the escrow release. In other words, there's so many days until this person has until to release the escrow. This is what it is. You want to make sure that you've collected both the seller and the buyer's ID. Why is this important? Well, because it will come up by the title company, but it's also important because however the seller and the buyer appear on their ID, this is the way it should appear on their contract. So you want to make sure that you put that in beforehand, that you know it. And if it's going to be an issue, they're going to have to make an addendum saying, AKA, whoever the person's name might be. And so you want to make sure the title company knows that. Here are some deadlines. So the first deadline is going to be the initial deposit deadline. There are two options on the contract. It could either be accompanied with the offer, or you can give 3 days, which can obviously be changed. You can cross that out and you can say 1 day or 2 days or 7 days or whatever it is according to the contract. You want to write what day that falls on. As you know, weekends and holidays do not count. So if the third day falls on a Saturday, then guess what? It's not until the next Monday. If the Monday is Labor Day, then guess what? It's not until Tuesday. So you want to make sure that you have that, even though it says 3 dates, 3 days, which day it falls on. You also want to write the amount and who the escrow agent was. Normally, we use London Foster as our escrow agent, but if the initial deposit and the second deposit is being done by somebody else, by someone who's not working with a London Foster agent, they might use a different title company. They might use a different escrow account. The second deposit is also on your contract. It is the first one is known as the earnest money. The second one is known as the second deposit. Usually that falls within 10 days. Again, there's no rule to that. So if you have it different in the contract, some people might ask for it in 5 days. Some people might ask for it in 3 weeks, depending on what the circumstance is. You want to make sure you write that number, you write that date, you write that amount, and who's holding the escrow. A percentage of financing. Also very important. You want to make sure that the letter that they're accompanying the offer with matches how much they're planning on putting in, and also that they're sending proof of funds. Example, if someone is doing 80% financing and they're putting 5% in earnest money, 5% as a second deposit, they're going to have to come up with another 10% at closing. So you want to make sure that you have that available in some sort of account or some kind of letter from a bank, so that the offer is presented nicely, but also so that the buyer is clear that they're going to have to come up with that money in cash. Also, right here in deadlines, let me put this in real quick so you guys can see it. We have other deadlines that pertain to dates. Condo docs. The date that the condo docs were received or delivered, the title, evidence, and insurance, the condo application, inspection, loan approval period. Okay, and again, these are the standard dates, not necessarily pertaining to your contract. In your contract, you might have written it a different way. You can cross those out. The important thing is to know how many days and that they do not fall on a Saturday or Sunday, because then it's going to be the following Monday, or if they fall on a holiday on a Monday, then it's the following Tuesday. We also have check marks here, so you can check mark when this has been completed and you can move on. Contingencies, which are also very important dates. You have the mortgage application due, the mortgage commitment due, the last day to cancel based on the condo docs, the last day to cancel based on the inspection, the last day to cancel based on the loan approval period. So you're going to have check marks there and the dates. We have another little table here, which has to do with document checklists. You need to make sure you have an executed contract, addendums, riders, condo documents, lead-based paint pamphlet, the seller's information sheet, the buyer's information sheet, an escrow letter, the HOA or condo approval letter, the walkthrough form, and the warranty deed. So as you get them, you go cling, 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 you check them off, and you're moving in. Additional paperwork. You will find everybody has their own style. I like to do not a printout, but I like to save a PDF of the MLS, the IMAP, and the tax record. I do this with the offer. When I present an offer, I always present the offer with these 3 pieces of information. Why? Well, basically because all the information that was provided by the IMAP and tax record is the way that we're writing the contract. In other words, this is who the seller is. This is the way it appears, whether it's a name or corporation. If there's an issue, please bring it up now. If this is not the company, or if you know what, this the person that's buying it is not on the deed, guess what? That's an issue. Also, the MLS printout. We have all heard the horror stories of agents who go back and change the commission percentage on the MLS. Well, guess what? If on the contract that was presented with the offer, it says 3%, you're paying 3. Because the fact that you changed it after we got this executed is not my problem. So you want to make sure that that's in there. Articles of incorporation, the real property disclosure, the DBPR broker agent. It's always a good idea to look up every agent that you're working with and make sure that they have an active license and who their broker is. Because the moment of the contract, that's who the broker has to get paid. It's not the agent. If the agent moved around, that is not your problem. Whoever they signed that contract with execution, that's who should be paid. FERPTA addendum. The FERPTA addendum is for foreign nationals. If you're having someone who is selling and they are Canadian, French, German, any other country other than the US, guess what? Money has to be withheld, as that money is to pay taxes. Closing disclosure, that's going to be your HUD, what we called our HUD. That closing disclosure or that preliminary HUD, you need to have a copy of that. You want to have a copy of your commission disbursement if you're going to be dispersing your commission and having 2 checks cut. And you also want to have a copy of your commission request if you're not doing a disbursement. So at londonfoster.net, we can do this online. We provide this service for our agents. You would go under londonfoster.net, My Deals, and either do a commission disbursement because you're going to be picking up 2 checks, one for London Foster, one for yourself, or do a commission request. And therefore, when London Foster gets a check, they deposit it, the check clears, they'll cut you a check. But you want to have proof of that in your file, and you want to make sure that you've already done it, ready for the closing. The financing agent, the financial agent. This is obviously your mortgage broker or the bank. You want to make sure you have their name, the officer who you're working with, their phone number, address, license number, mobile, email, type of loan, loan amount. You want to have all of that information because you will be working with this person closely and it will come up. This one is even simpler, and here we're just going to go over it really quick, but you need to have all the information for the listing broker and the buyer's broker, the seller's attorney and the buyer's attorney, the seller's title company and the buyer's title company. So most of the time they're the same person, not always. So this was a very simple explanation of a form. We use this form to try to alleviate mistakes, try to avoid errors. Hopefully this helped you out. And again, I want to show you where you can find this. You can go to your office manager under contracts and forms and scroll down until you find the sales checklist. Hopefully this helped you out.